In this video, I'm going to be showing you the features of Analog, one of the instruments that comes bundled with Ableton Live. To get started, let's double-click on Analog and check out the factory default preset. This is what it sounds like when you first load it up. Now, Analog looks pretty complicated, and there are a lot of parameters that you can use to shape your sound. But if you understand how the plugin's laid out, then it becomes much more manageable. Let's start by noting that whenever I click in one of these sections, the center panel changes to reflect additional parameters for those sections. The top row of Analog consists of Oscillator 1, Filter 1, and Amplifier 1. Oscillator 1 can be a sine wave, a sawtooth wave, a square wave, or noise. Let's hear what each of those sound like. There's quite a lot of variation in sound possible. You can raise or lower the output volume of Oscillator 1 here, and you can send Oscillator 1 either to Filter 1, Filter 2, or a blend of Filter 1 and Filter 2 by clicking and dragging in this box. You can adjust the octave, semitone, and detuning of Oscillator 1 here. In the middle here, you'll see a pitch envelope. If I raise the pitch envelope's initial setting, this is what it sounds like. If I go the other way, the pitch will rise. I can adjust the time it takes the pitch to rise or fall by clicking on this square or by adjusting the time parameter here. There are other parameters in this window that will only be in use when the other modules in the other sections are turned on, such as LFO1. If I turn that on, now you can see that LFO1 is activated for pitch modulation. In the Filter 1 section, we have a filter envelope that can be either linear or exponential. We have a lot of settings to control the attack, decay, sustain, and release times here. You can also loop that envelope in several different ways. You can loop just the attack and decay, and release, or you can have the attack, decay, and sustain be normal, but the release loops when you let go of the key. Let's listen to these loop modes. I'll adjust the cutoff frequency of the filter, and we're looping. I can add resonance, which is an EQ boost around the cutoff frequency, in this case 1.8 kilohertz. This mode's kind of hard to hear, but it will loop once I let go of the key. Moving on to the amplifier, there are pan and level controls. In the center section, we have another envelope for the amplifier, and we have similar controls as to the filter envelope, but this time there's pan and level modulation that will be activated when LFO1 is turned on. You can hear LFO1 acting on the volume of the amplifier. At the bottom of Analog, we have Oscillator 2, Filter 2, and Amplifier 2. And they have all the same settings as their counterparts at the top. In the master section, you can see quick routing schemes designed to quickly route one module into another. In this first algorithm, we have Oscillator 1 going into Filter 1 going into Amplifier 1, and Oscillator 2 going into Filter 2 going into Amplifier 2. These are two parallel chains that don't interact until the master section. In this algorithm, Oscillators 1 and 2 both go to Filters 1 and 2, which in turn go to Amplifier 1 and Amplifier 2, and then to the master section. The LFO section has two built-in LFOs. You can control the rate of the LFOs with these controls, and you can choose to have them in hertz or to sync them to your session tempo. You can adjust the shape of the wave, and if it's a rectangle wave, the pulse width. As you can see, a wide variety of sounds are possible by using LFOs and filters strategically. There are other tools used to shape your LFOs, including a re-triggering option, offset, delay, and attack parameters. In general, LFO1 is used for the top row of controls, and LFO2 is used for the bottom. On the left, there's a noise module. This adds noise to your sound. You can adjust the color of the noise with this control and the volume level here. You could also adjust which filter the noise will go through in this box. In the master section here, you have a main volume control, as well as vibrato. Vibrato adds a wobble to your pitch. You can control the amplitude and the rate with these controls. Unison and Glide work with some of the parameters in the center window of the master section. Let's check out that window now. In addition to the quick routing algorithms, you also have controls for the vibrato here. You have the master tuning for octave, semitone, and detuning, pitch bend range, and stretch and error. This controls the relationship of the pitch of oscillator 1 and 2 to the keys on your keyboard, and error introduces a little bit of random tuning errors to each note. The voices control here determines how many voices are available for analog to play. If you set it to 8, you can play up to 8 notes at a time. If you set it to 2, you can only play 2 notes at a time. If you play a third note, whatever note gets dropped will be determined by the priority control. You can choose to prioritize the most recent note you played, which is last, or the highest note or the lowest note. If you select mono, then you can only play 1 note at a time. Now, if the voices control is set to mono, this is where you can use glide. If it's set to anything other than mono, glide doesn't really work. With glide, you can bend the note between 2 pitches. This time control controls the amount of time it takes to bend to the destination pitch. The pitches are bending no matter when I play them. If I press the legato button, now they'll only bend if the notes overlap. If I increase the time, it's more noticeable. Finally, I can make that glide mode either constant or proportional. In the proportional setting, notes that are closer together will bend faster, and notes that are farther apart will take a longer time to bend up to the destination pitch. There are many parameters and tools that analog gives you to shape your sound.